Hey! You are listening to the Grumpy Guy BJJ Podcast.
Hey, what's up, guys? Got to take care of a few things before we jump into this week's episode. First, our Ramping Isometrics for BJJ program. It is a 12-week program, all laid out for you. It's going to help you build strength and cardio in the fastest, safest, and most convenient way possible. This is how James and I have been training for the past year, and we love it. So we put this program together so you can just follow along, and we are certain you will see and feel the benefits that we do. It's only $15. Just go to grumpyguybjj.com, click the drop-down menu in the upper right-hand corner, and you'll find it. Next, R3. This is our K2 D3 supplement. It is a combination of those two vitamins, D3 and K2. These are two vitamins that James and I have been taking for a long time that really help us recover from hard training sessions. And for only $15 with free shipping, you get a whole month's supply. I was going to pull up some studies explaining the benefits of D3 and K2, but I'm not going to insult your intelligence and pretend to be a fucking scientist. I take it. It helps me recover. That's it. So for $15, check it out. And last but certainly not least, we have partnered up with Jiu-Jitsu.com. They have a ton of awesome BJJ instructionals, and they have hooked us up with a discount code for our listeners. It's Grumpy10. So what you got to do is you go to Jiu-Jitsu.com, which is DIGITSU.com. Find the instructionals you want, throw them in a shopping cart. In the little discount code box, you type in Grumpy10, which is just GRUMPY and the number 10, 10. That's it, no spaces. Boom, you get 10% off. You're up and running. They got a nice app you can download on your phone. That way you can take your instructionals right to the gym with you, watch the technique, drill it. It's a pretty sweet setup. So once again, DIGITSU.com. Discount code Grumpy10, GRUMPY10. Simple as that. To find all this stuff I just got done talking about, go to our website, grumpyguybjj.com. Click the drop-down menu in the upper right-hand corner. There, you'll subscribe to our newsletter for podcast updates. You'll find links for the Ramping Isos program, the R3 Recovery Supplement, and then under the Programs and Products tab, you'll find a link to Jiu-Jitsu.com. And let's be honest, if you guys can't figure out how to navigate a website by now, there's nothing I can do to help you. So quit fucking around. Check it out, train hard, and let's get into this week's episode. And boom.
Back again.
Here we are.
Man, still at Casa de Rob.
Again.
With Handsome Frank.
We've been here for like 3-4 episodes in a row now.
3 in a row, yeah. Keely said that if we're going to start doing this, that we got to at least alternate. So.
No, it's just situational.
It is situational. But it was funny. She's like, "Is this a new thing with Rob?" I'm like, "I don't know."
I know. I figured you guys might speculate. We're talking about. We've been doing this podcast for fucking 2 years now. And
wow, that long already.
Yeah. And this will be episode like 107, I think. I'd have to look.
Yeah.
So 107 weeks, and they've almost all been at your house.
Yeah, we got a couple over here, but yeah,
here and there.
Now we're on a streak though.
But yeah, like a month ago, I had like car issues or some shit, so I asked if we could do it here. Then like I had Frank, and he had like surgery or something. He got his nuts chopped off, so I asked if we could do it here. And it's just kind of been. And then I figured it'd be easier for you to come here. And then,
yes.
Now we're.
But speaking of that,
continuing the streak.
So this is.
You guys are hearing another voice here.
This is the first. We got Preacher Paul with us. Paul is our first non-black belt purposeful guest.
That's an accurate statement.
Yes. Okay. So
yeah.
No, that is not an accurate statement.
Who else did we have?
Well, non-black belt purposeful gift for them. We've had the Happy Gals on.
Happy Gals don't count.
How come they're
not
count?
Guests?
They're not guests?
No, they're like, yeah, not the same.
Okay.
Not the same thing. So Paul is our teammate from Grand Valley BJJ, and wanted to get him on, talk a little jiu-jitsu and life, because you've had some interesting experiences.
For sure, man. Lots of them.
Yeah. So, so we got you on purpose. We had the Mauler on, but he didn't know he was on.
Oh, really?
No.
I saw he was on. I was waiting for the clarification there, because I was like, well, I saw Mahler was on here, man. So You guys caught him by surprise.
Well, is what we laid the trap. So he was supposed to come over, and you see I broke the handle on my fucking microwave, right? Like a gorilla. And he was supposed to come over and put a new handle on. And so he ordered it up, and he came over, and I told Jay, that was another reason I think we were going to do it here. I was like, hey, Mahler's coming over to fix my microwave. Why don't we record over here, and we will be recording when he gets here. That way, we just dupe him right into being on the podcast. we didn't tell him. And then he walked in the door. It was kind of a funny scene. He walked in, and we were sitting here like this recording. And we're like, hey, man, we're on the podcast. And he's just like, oh, all right. And he kind of walks by us and sets his tool bag down. And he starts walking, like working on the microwave. I'm like, hey, why don't you have a seat and get on the podcast? And then you see like his gears turning like, okay. All right. And then he sat down. It was pretty funny.
That's awesome,
That was funny.
So we tricked him. We didn't have to trick you to get you on, though.
No. Not at all, man. But no, hey, let me just say this, man. I appreciate the invitation to just come hang out, catch up. I came and saw Rob a couple weeks ago now, maybe.
Yeah,
last
a week
weekend.
ago. I think maybe last week.
Yeah.
And we were chopping it up. We hadn't seen each other in a while. And before you know it, we're probably an hour in.
Hour and a half. We sat here just talking. The same thing James and I do, dude. Like that's a lot of this. How we got started is just because we sit there and the conversations we have. And we did the road trip to Steve Maxwell's, and it was how long of a drive?
It's like 9 hours
total.
each way.
9 hours each way.
Yeah.
That's right. And dude, we never turned on the radio once. We just talked for fucking 9 hours there and solving all the world's problems there and back.
You prepped 18 weeks of podcasts there, basically.
I think that's laid the groundwork for it.
Right.
Yeah, that was funny, man. I know we were driving through some desolate country, talking about some interesting shit. So speaking of interesting stuff, shall we say? Preacher Paul, got that nickname because you are preacher.
Yep, pastor.
So I guess I know I've heard a little bit before, but how'd you get into that line of work? And I guess give us a little background on yourself, and then how'd you get into jiu-jitsu off of that? Like, preacher that does jiu-jitsu, man of peace, choking people out, right? So I don't know, man. You got interesting
let me
stuff
give you guys kind of the rundown. We were talking a little bit before pre-podcast. We were talking about gangster days, right? Growing up in the 90s, late 80s. And everybody wanted that. That was the cool thing, man, to be a gangster, And, every Halloween just came, and I was thinking about that. Like for me, every year for Halloween, I wanted to be a cholo, man. I wanted to be a gangster, you know what I'm saying? And back then, it was the flannel buttoned up at top, you know what I'm saying? You got that's what I wanted to be, man. I idolized it. So as a kid, it's all cute, But then you get into teenage years, you're rebellious anyway, but now you couple that with wanting to be a gangster, and before you know it, man, I was catching cases, I was in and out of juvie, I was just dealing drugs, doing drugs, I mean, you name it, man. That just was the lifestyle. And very early my parents lost complete control. I think about my kids, and parenting teenagers is tough. But dude, nowhere near where I was when I was that age. So anyhow, I ended up kind of in jail and in and out, and really kind of had this crossroads moment of either I'm going to be a lifer, be in prison the rest of my life, maybe end up dead early, and the scenario, or I got to make a change. And so right around 17, I was in jail, and I was I wasn't a faith. I didn't grow up in church, so I didn't have this church background. I didn't have this hey, this is where I came from. This is what I know, or anything like that. It was. My dad had some faith, but it wasn't any part of our upbringing. So anyhow, I'm 17. I'm in jail. I'm looking at a couple years being committed, or I kind of have some choices. I can line things up. I can go back to school, get a GED, do something. And so one day I'm in my cell, and it's a Sunday, and they're like, hey, you want to go to church and or Bible study, whatever it was. And dude, I was raw. I was like, hell no, that's stupid. And the guy came in, he was an older guy, and he's got a guitar. And I'm like, I straight up was like, I ain't singing Kumbaya, whatever you guys do over there, that's stupid. And I'm sure. And then as a 17-year-old kid too, I'm a little more harsh with my words, like F y'all, whatever. I'm just that rebellious kid. Well, that night, I'm sitting in my cell and it's lights out. I'm in there. There's not much to do but think. And I start thinking about faith. And I'm like, and I really feel this urge to pray. And yet I'm like, I don't even know what to say. I wasn't good enough Catholic because I kind of grew up Catholic, if you would say that. But I wasn't even good enough Catholic to do the Our Father. I was like, I had no idea what prayer was. So I just really prayed the prayer of like, God, if you're real, show me. And it was kind of that simple. And then it was the evolution of, from that, it just changed my life, God had it. I wish I could tell you it was like all up and to the right, if you will, but it certainly wasn't. But I got out of jail that next day. I had court, ended up getting out on an ankle bracelet, so house arrest. And I started just exploring faith at that point. But I was not at all like converted yet, for sure. In fact, I had a pastor, he came over to my house and he's like, wanted to talk to me and just, hey, check in on me, I guess. And at 17 years old, man, I'm holding a joint, dude. And I'm like,
on house arrest?
Yeah, dude, on house arrest. I put it behind my back. And, dude, there's smoke just coming up my back, dude. And I'm like, I just tell him, hey, you're going to have to come back. Now's not a good time, And he leaves, of course. I don't think anything about it. Just keep smoking some weed, And I'm in my mom's house and 17. And she's like, hey, don't be smoking weed in my house. And I'm like, I'm not. I promise, you know what kids do, man.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's the beginning, and that was in '97, and then from there, I just really over the course of months just completely sold out to that, and before you know it, that fall I was in, I'm losing track of the time frame. That must have been in the spring. Well, that fall I was in Bible college. And so then I was like, I just went all in, man. Yeah. It was a radical transformation, and I was totally so in church that I didn't know any better. So I was just like, I'm diving all in. So that's what got me started in faith, and then really out of that, it turned into more of what you would call, I guess, a career. Yeah. And that's been 22 years, man.
Okay, I want to. So you say, because that transition from you hiding the joint behind your back when somebody came to check on you to like going to Bible college and you're all in, like what made you decide, where was the jump, why did you say, oh, like this is going to be good for me, I need to make this jump?
So I think it was a series of things, but I think what started is it started with the prayer. And even though I wasn't converted, if you will, to use that terminology, it was like at that moment I was open to faith. I was open to like, okay, God, if you're real, show me. And I really feel like for me, it was a sincere question. And I feel like in my story, it was God responding over a period of time, revealing himself to me. And that revelation is still happening today. It's not something you learn in Bible college. It's something you learn over a lifetime, really. Yeah. And so I started, from there, I started connecting with the pastor. I started going to church, ended up going to a youth camp, and that youth camp was pretty transitional to where for the first time I really felt like God had a calling on my life. Actually, I went to this youth, I don't know how much you guys know about church, but they called them youth revivals. And really what it was, dude, was it was a series of like church services, and it was focused on like youth, teenagers. And so I went, and it was there that as I was kind of already walking down that path, the preacher gets up and he's like, man, God's calling somebody into ministry. And, before we close out tonight, you need to respond to that. And I'm sitting, dude, when I'm saying I'm sitting in the back, I mean, there's a line of chairs on the back wall, like literally on the back wall. And I'm finding, that's my spot because I don't want to hide. I don't want to be up front. I don't want to be in the mix. And I started to kind of get my life a little bit back in order, got a GED. I was planning on going to do drafting. As a career, architectural drafting, and so that was what I thought was I was going to get my life fixed. I was going to do drafting, potentially maybe if I could turn it into a career, I wanted to be an architect. That was my dream, you know. And that night, finally the guy goes on, and I'm like, hey, whoever this is, man, get up and go respond to this dude just to shut him up, you know. And I'm waiting and waiting. I got my head down, and man, I can't explain it other than it was just there was this tug at my heart. And it was like, finally he said, one of you in this room today, he says, you've already got plans to go to school, college, and God wants to change those for you tonight. And dude, I knew it was me. And I went up to the front, and I'm just like, God, do whatever you have to do in my life. And so that was kind of the pivotal moment. And then that youth camp just followed up. And there was this college there was called Master's Commission. And really what it was like this hybrid of like college and then hands-on training. And
hands-on training to become a pastor?
To become a pastor. And so they told me about it, and I'm like, for my first response, you just got to know I was skeptical from the beginning, man. Everything about it. They're like telling me about Master's Commission. They say, yeah, you'll end up living in somebody else's home. Like there'll be a host home for you. And I'm like, I ain't living with nobody. That, you know, and I'm still raw. And I'm like, hell no, I ain't living with anybody. And anyhow, man, that was probably June. And at that camp, everything started to change. And within a month, I raised money for missions, and then I got an opportunity to go on a mission trip. So I'm in Mexico and really contemplating, am I going to go to Bible college? And I just felt another confirmation. I'm on the mission field. I'm working with kids, and there's all this ministry happening. And I just knew, yeah. So, I mean, there's a lot of stories within the story, but that's the kind of the fast track to it. And then it just never turned back, man. I was in Bible college in '98, and never turned back, man. It was like, and all of it was a culture shock, though, man. Christianity was a culture shock because I didn't grow up in it, and so it always felt weird. I always felt like an outsider, actually. I always felt like I don't belong here, man. Like all these other kids, they grew up in this. My wife, she's church. She grew up in church. I always felt like somehow I didn't belong, almost, you know. So that brought me here in 2007 to pastor the church I pastor now. And, you know, through another series of events and changes, I ended up there. And dude, here's the crazy thing. So you think, you know, guy of faith, he's got it all figured out, you know, his life's on path. Well, I'm here, and I end up encountering like a major IRS issue that I inherited. And it was like, I inherited this issue, and dude, I've never dealt with the IRS, man. I'm 27 years old. You know, it's my first pastoral position. I'm the lead guy. I'm leading people that are twice my age, you know, like, and I'm trying to figure out to navigate through this, and I've got to deal with this IRS issue. And dude, it just kicked my butt, man. It's a series of things that I was like, God, why'd you call me? I'm like, and some of the things go back to that youth camp. He's like, well, when you were at youth camp, you prayed this prayer that said, hey, if, you know, here's my life, do with it what you would will, you know, that kind of bold faith prayer, you know. And he's like, you still mean that, you know? And I'm like, in other words, it's like, man up, you know, put your big boy pants on and quit being a sissy, because, you know, ultimately, like, this is part of it. So that's what brings me to jiu-jitsu. That's why I bring up the story, because as I was transitioning out of all that, like, it was almost a 7-year ordeal.
Whew.
Yeah, and there was a lot of just up and downs through that, man. It's life, you know. We go through the roller coaster. But in 2012, I'm nearing it. Remember 12/12/12, dude? That was like this day of that was supposed to live in infamy. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, my encounter. That's it.
The world was supposed to end.
Yeah,
wasn't it?
So
that's right. My excuse to not recycle. Stop that,
dude.
I always tell people the world's gonna end in 2012 anyway.
So who cares, right?
Right? Who cares?
Well,
anyway.
dude, that day. Here's the crazy thing: is I had been dealing with the IRS at that point. It was years now. It was It was multiple years. I mean, I got here in 2007, and shortly after that, became aware of this stuff, right? Well, anyway, 12/12/12, I get this call from the IRS agent. It's the one I'm waiting for. It's like, okay, we're going to be able to resolve this. And dude, you're talking like $65,000 was the first. Cool. Was the first, hey, by the way, it's 65 grand. And I'm like, I don't got 65 grand sitting around.
I don't know what to tell you.
And so we're walking through it. 12, I get this call. It's supposed to be like the final, hey, we're going to make a resolution. And I think at the time it was like 17 grand or something. And so I was like, all right. And the lady says, we can't help you. And she tells me, you know what? In fact, what I would encourage you to do is, she says, the 1-800 number you called when you first contacted us? I would call it again and start this process all over again.
And this is how many years later?
Dude, this is like 3 or 4 years in.
Dude, IRS is so ridiculous.
And I'm like, dude, I'm dumbfounded. I'm like, wait, what did you say? She says, I'm telling you, the best option for you is to start the process back over. And dude, I'm floored. This is like, talk about already being discouraged in life and the challenges of leadership and ministry and just all this stuff, right? And you get that kind of final, like, this is what it is. And dude, everything in me just felt like the ghost left, dude. I was just done. I was defeated. I was discouraged. I was like, God, let me do anything else but ministry. I'll love the church. I'll be generous to the church. But I don't want to lead the church. I'm done. And right in end of 2012, that happened. In 2013, there was just, I kind of had what I feel like it was the second salvation experience, a second born again experience where I started saying, all right, I gotta make a change. I gotta change up here. I gotta change in here. And physically, I was unhealthy, and I'm like, I gotta change, do something physically. And I never was a gym guy, so I was like, I want to do jiu-jitsu. And that was that, dude.
What made you want to do jiu-jitsu?
Dude, of course, being a fan of a fight fan all my life, Tyson, dude, who I still watch Tyson, highlights, and they're like, but I grew up, did some amateur boxing, so I was always a fan of the, combat sports, and of course, UFC grows into this extremely popular thing, and underlined by jiu-jitsu, and then had some cousins who wrestled at a high level, and then cousins who actually at the time, I don't remember if Chris was, I don't remember, but time frame where he might have been in the UFC then. So Chris Camozzi's a first cousin through marriage of mine.
That's right, I forgot.
And so, of course I'm tuned into it, but I just had this, and I always wrestled as a kid, but dude, I didn't have the support of my family. Was a good wrestler as a kid, but then didn't have the support through middle school or high school. Got kicked out of high school, actually. Dude, I made it through 2 months in high school, and got kicked out. And so never did high school sports, nothing like that, but had a desire to wrestle. So I think that's kind of what drew me towards it. And then back at that time, Gracie Baja was around, and I somehow met Matt. I don't even remember how. And I was like, all right, I'll go to the gym. And dude, that was in 2013. So it was like March, somewhere around there. And I showed up for the first time, and Saturday morning, dude, I'm at the time I'm like 40 pounds heavier. And so, dude, I'm out of shape, dude. I haven't ran, I haven't done anything, dude. I haven't done a push-up in probably since I was a kid, I'm just completely out of shape. And not only that, dude, but I pound this big breakfast on Saturday morning. And dude, I'm like bacon and eggs and probably pancakes, and you know what I'm saying? I'm just a big breakfast, dude. And I come to noon class for the first time, and dude, there's a small group there, but it was like pick your partner up and walk them across the gym type stuff. And bro, I'm about to throw up on those mats, dude. I'm like, what the heck did I get myself into? And glutton for punishment, you know what I'm saying, just kept coming back. And man, that's almost 7 years now. This coming spring will be 7 years. And so that was my intro to jiu-jitsu. And man, as you guys probably have talked about, I'm sure a ton of times, and that is a roller coaster of itself, in terms of training, where you have these moments of I'm all in, and then moments where you're just like, dude, this sucks. And especially early on, my first year of training, I trained like a madman. I was just in it whenever I could, and my body took a beating, pulled some ribs, and my first tournament was coming up I think it was like a February Fight to Win tournament. And a month before or so, I'm training and I blew my ribs out. And I'm like, dude, I'll be back next week. Dude, I had no reference point, you know.
Ignorance is bliss,
dude. And I had already signed. I had already signed up. You know, I was already committed. And nope, you ain't training for like 6 weeks, you know. And so that was like, so then I couldn't compete. You know, it was like there's just no way. It was physically I couldn't compete.
Yeah.
And then that June, I'm preparing to go compete right around the 4th of July weekend at a tournament in Vegas. Still a white belt, and I'd already signed up for it, or was going to either way. And I got my blue belt, and I got my blue belt in June, and the tournament was like 4 weeks later. And I'm like, crap, I'm going to Vegas, dude. I'm going by myself. I don't have a coach. Nobody's going with me. I got like nobody there, and I'm gonna go do a tournament, and you know, as a 5-week blue belt, you know. And so yeah, anyway, you know, got on that track other than just the ups and downs of jiu-jitsu, you know. Trained there. Chris was fighting, Chris Camozzi.
Mm-hmm.
So he's fighting, and I'm like, dude, would you coach me? And you know, he's like, yeah, oh heck yeah. So that morning, you know, we're warming up, getting ready, and I don't know what to expect, man. And get into my first match. Dude's like tall, slender guy. And within a couple minutes, man, I end up submitting him. And it was like, dude, you know, I went from like intimidated, just not knowing what to expect. And I submitted this guy and caught him on something stupid, you know, case of katama. And he stretched his arm out and I caught it between my legs, got him in a straight arm bar. And then it was like, okay, maybe that wasn't so bad. You know, of course, that was just a small bracket, so got into the finals and ended up losing on points. Guy pointed me out like crazy. I think it was 10-0 or something. But yeah, dude, the journey of jiu-jitsu, man, it's a long one for sure.
You know, it's funny. Similar story to my first tournament at blue belt. It was up in Canada, and again, I was a pretty new blue belt, and so I was nervous going in. And I won like it was a bigger tournament. I won like the first 3 matches, made it to the finals. And once again, we've talked about my stories before. I just got point raped in that fight.
Yeah.
The dude was just, you know, just like knee on belly, pop off.
Yeah.
Pretend like I'd get guard back. Knee on belly. You know, it was like 87-0 or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Just embarrassing, you know. But yeah, similar, very similar.
Yeah, if it was 10-0, I think I was trying to give myself a little credit. Maybe it was probably more than that, man. But same thing, dude.
Yeah.
Point rate. That's a good way to put it, dude. 'Cause that's exactly what happened.
That happened to be my first tournament at black belt, also.
Yeah, that's where we came up with the term.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's like Coach Kevin special.
I still have
His way with words sometimes.
PTSD from that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
From black belt or
From the black
blue belt?
from the black belt one. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't even imagine, man.
So yeah, man, you competed quite a bit. You got fucking pretty infamous for your loop choke.
Yeah,
dude.
So, dude, I don't even know where it developed completely, but the loop choke just became, you know, I think I hit it on some higher level belts.
You've caught me with it, fucker.
And it's like, dude, I'm like, dude, that crap works. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Crap worked.
and I think like you just find stuff that you start, and then ultimately as my game's evolved, it's like that cross collar grip. You know, like I'm like, I might not choke you, but you're so worried about my choke now.
You got to deal with
that. I can sweep you from there. I can punch it forward and get a sweep, or I can arm or drag you into it as well because you're just so worried about the choke. And so, you know, that became the evolution of that game. But yeah, so I've only competed 3 times. So then it was, you know, all blue belt. And but then the second time, or the third time, by that point I had already started to really develop that loop game.
Yeah.
And dude was able to basically threaten it. I think in the tournament I had 3 submissions and 1 point win, and 2 of the submissions were loop chokes.
Yeah.
And so, and it was like easy bait at that point. They're like, dude, are you guys
I
really?
remember watching
like,
you one,
boom,
dude. Yeah, man. I was like, you guys were just standing up, man. It just like, next thing you know, just like fucking choking them out. It's like, yeah.
Dude, that one's the best. That when you're, the funny thing is you envision things in your mind, right? You're like, how's this going to play out?
Yeah.
And in my mind that whole day, dude, I was like, I just want to catch somebody from standing and drop into the cross leg and then pull them back over, into a loop choke and finish them like that. And dude, finals match, dude. He just stood up. I had the right grip, and I remember you were, because even in the video, I could hear your voice.
Yeah.
You were coaching me actually. And
I don't remember. I was probably just there yelling at
yeah,
you.
dude. Well, dude, I'm like, so we fall in to like where he kind of gets mount a little bit, but right away I put him in the gutter butterfly, So I knew I was confident in terms of what I could do, and from there, so I got him in the butterfly. Then we scrambled out of it. When we scrambled out of it, dude, he just came with his posture broke coming out of it, and dude, the loop's just there.
Yeah.
So as soon as we come out, I just shoot for that far side leg and just grab the pant and drop him back. Dude, he woke up and he's like, "What the was that, dude?" And I'm just kind of, at that point, it's like, dude, I've been dreaming about that all day long. And it happened, man. So,
do you remember the tournament? Last time I was at a tournament with you is probably going on 3 years now, where you had to beat up the woman.
Yes, I was going to ask about that one. That was my next question. You had the infamous match.
Bro.
Okay, let me hear it from your perspective, and then I'll share what I
first of
remember.
all, dude, I come up to Rob, and I'm like, dude, look at this name. And he's just like, dude, people are weird today. He's like, I don't know what to tell you, dude. Like, I don't know.
I figured it was a guy, because what was the name? It was like,
she's cool, man. She's
right.
cool. She's cool people. I have it on YouTube, man. It's on YouTube.
It was a name that could be a guy's name in this day and age, because like I remember saying to you when you came up, like, is this a guy or girl? And I looked at it, I was like, in this day and age, there's not a lot of Paul and Robs and Jameses anymore. I was like, this could be a guy. I was like, just don't sweat it.
Yeah.
But anyways,
yeah, dude. So and then at that point, like, finally we get to the match, and it's like, okay, no, this is a chick. And I'm like, dude, this sucks, because either I'm going to get smashed by some chick, or I'm going to be the guy that just walk through this, this chick, what I'm saying? Like, either way, like, it's a lose. So, funny thing is, I get cross collar on her right away, and I pull her into an ankle pick. And when I do, I pull hard, because at that point, it's Rob's fault.
No, I remember the story. You looked at him and you're like, kick her ass. I think that was his advice.
So
she signed up for the big boy division.
Yep.
Treat her like a big boy.
So at that point, I'm like, hey, I'll blame Rob.
Yep.
I'll blame. So when I first gripped, dude, and I pulled down, I could feel, dude, just the total strength, difference. She might be in the same weight class, but it was the strength difference was there. And so anyhow, I pull her in, end up, dragging her in. I think ankle pick, then dragged her, got to her back. In all that scramble, I did cross my feet a little bit, and she attacked it. It just was more the scramble though, so I was not like holding on to her.
Yeah.
But dude, I had that moment of like, dude, this chick's gonna tap me with the worst possible, like, don't ever cross your feet, And dude, I was like, you're dealing with all that in your mind. And finally, I get on her back, and I work the choke, and dude, just no mercy. I choked her. It's like it is what it is, man.
Yeah,
I'll happily take the blame for that one.
Yeah, dude. And that was my first match of that tournament. Yep. So you're already just, I don't love competing. I'll be honest, man. I don't love it.
Yeah.
So
stressful.
It is, dude, and
then you get put in a weird situation like
yeah,
that.
and then dude, and then that was that. So. It was just like, dude, this is how we're going to start this day, huh?
That's how it's going to be. All right.
Yeah. Dude, she actually lives in Hawaii. I don't know if she still does. I've never really reconnected with her since, but we did talk that day. So she lives in Hawaii, and I've been back to visit like 3 times since then. And I thought, man, I just need to take a gi, go train with her and her team, and just, hey, remember when I choked you? And she's probably gonna be a black belt now and be like, yeah, I remember, and just like work me over, And
did you ever ask her why she signed up for the guys division?
Dude, I kind of did, and I think it was just like a last minute thing, and she just jumped into a division, it was weird. I don't know. I didn't get a clear answer now.
Huh.
But yeah, totally like.
Did he clear that up? I mean, that's a weird,
interesting
situation.
I haven't seen him allow that since then.
Yeah.
Because that is it's a shitty situation.
Dude, it is.
And no matter which way you do it, like, you couldn't go enter a women's division
No.
at the same way. It's not fair.
No.
So why would you let a women? We have men's and women's divisions for a reason, and we've ranted on this podcast about the transgender thing a million times. So we won't go down that road. But yeah, it's
definitely like, you know, you look at like the spectrum of it, and it's going to be a difference, man.
It is a difference.
And you have some freak phenoms that like they're just athletic, strong, like dude, they're gonna work you over. But generally
those
speaking,
are few and far between.
yeah.
You're not going to deal with Serena Williams out there.
No.
You know what I mean? It's the average guy and the average woman. It's not a fair fight.
It's just it's not.
Well, like you said, man, it's more just puts you in an awkward situation. You know, like competing is already stressful enough. You're not you know what I mean? Like you're showing up and you think you have an idea of what's going on, then all of a sudden you're like, shit, I have one of two choices. I'm either going to get, you know, beat by a girl, or I'm going to beat a girl. There's no fucking win in this situation. It's not a fair position to put somebody in.
Dude, and for me, my perspective, to be really honest, I'm like, well, she's in my division.
Yeah.
So I would feel worse about losing to her than I would.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
Right?
No, you did the right thing.
Yeah, you did 100% the right thing.
Yeah, if everybody's going to sign off on it, it's okay.
I think her name was like Brianna or something like that.
Well, I can't even remember.
But, man, she's probably going to listen to this. She's like, I've been following Grumpy Guy.
Doubtful.
That was me.
Doubtful. We don't
I hate them now.
We don't have a ton of listeners.
It's the 200.
We're gonna tag her in it. We're gonna tag her in this post. She's gonna be like, what?
If I knew how to operate social media, I'd do that. But
yeah,
we're very limited.
I am the producer, and I'm anti-social media, so it doesn't.
Dude, I'm so anti-social media myself lately. I just can't do it, and I find
convert
myself where it's not like consciously I'm even thinking about not being on it anymore. I just find myself where I'm like, dude, months, 6 weeks go by, and I'm like, dude, I haven't even thought about it. But I feel bad because I do live in a world, like in my world, where there's a lot of engagement.
Yep.
And so, like being a pastor connected to a church, you know, there's a lot of engagement. And thankfully, I have a social media team that does the real work of it.
Yeah.
But still, it's like the guy's missing, you know, especially a small church, you know, a smaller, medium-sized church like ours. It's like, you know, the guy kind of, you know, he has to show face sometimes, you know. Yeah. And so I feel the pressure of that a little bit, you know.
It's funny. I just went the opposite. I made a commitment to post a video a day for 30 days.
Nice.
Starting when?
3 days ago. Oh. So I'm on to day 3.
Well, dude, so that's a great commitment, because I got back on, I think yesterday or the day before, and made a post. Yeah. It was probably my first one in like 2 months.
Yeah. Well, see, the thing is like, one, you overcomplicate it, right? Like, we all overcomplicate it. And it's like, so if you just make some stupid thing, like, I got to post a video a day for 30 days, even if it's just whatever, right? So all of a sudden your quality control lowers a little bit, which lowers the friction, right? Like, that's the problem with, like, because I hear you, we're in the same boat. Right, because like you're, you know, being Bike James, I have a team that runs MTB Strength Training Systems, their social media, but Bike James is still the face and
where's the guy?
The character. Yeah. Where's the guy? And there's definitely a difference when the guy's, you know, showing face versus not. And so that's where I was just like, man, I need to, you know, simplify this whole process. And so just like, you know, video a day for 30 days. I posted on the Instagram, the IGTV, and, you know, because then it'll post, because you can do the longer videos. That's the other thing too, if you're trying to do videos on Instagram, it's like, oh, it's got to be 60 seconds, and it's like, easier things, just post it there. And then they post a preview on your Instagram channel anyways. And then I don't know what, like phone, like, what do you use, like, anyways. Either way, you can share the video with your team so that they can post it on your church's,
or the church,
the church's side as well, and so that way you're getting that shit out there, shit, you know. I don't know why I know
hey,
it's hilarious.
I'm trying not to. I swear a lot.
I know you guys are all like, you guys are all turned into like what's this? Sunday school boys, you know what I'm saying? Like, all of a sudden you're like, man, I can't cuss around the preacher.
No, it's not that. It is. Because I don't feel bad cussing around you. No, just like in a conversation, because I cuss around you all the time, or to you.
Yeah.
But at me. At you. Yeah, I think I did already at you on this podcast. But the way I see it is like, if you wanted I already screwed it up, but like if you wanted someone like your wife or something, or even your kids to listen to this, like it's not, you know what I mean? I'm trying to be respectful of that.
That's great.
And it's just exercising self-control, you know what I mean? It's not that I'll drop F-bombs left and right.
It's
just
anyhow.
So
I'm sorry poking at you guys.
No, you should.
You should.
Yeah,
you fucking should.
Yeah. There you go. There you go.
So, anyways, so you can repurpose it that way. But that's what I'm doing. Just keep it simple, and because I just read that Atomic Habits book, and a lot of like creating new habits is about friction.
Dude, that's an interesting book. I've not read the whole book.
No,
I got it if you want to borrow it.
I've read a good portion of the beginning of it.
Yeah.
And dude, it's just such an intriguing read. Like it really is.
Yeah.
As far as the psychology.
Yes, how he ties in like habit, good habit.
It's a guy with dementia or Alzheimer's or something. So where's the story? There's a story.
No, he's the one who got hit in the face with a baseball.
Okay.
With a baseball bat or something. And so he had to work his way back from that, but.
Maybe so is there another book? Maybe Atomic Habits. What's the other? There's another one, Habits book. Maybe I'm confusing the two.
There's a bunch of them.
But it's like the pathways, dude. It's the neurological pathways and how you build these habits over time.
Yeah.
The stuff we do daily, like swallowing, we don't think about that. Breathing, we're not thinking about that. And so ultimately the habits to kind of go back to creating good habits or reinforcing bad habits, whatever it might be.
A lot of that is the friction is what stops you from doing it. That was like my insight into like, all right, if I'm having trouble doing something and I know I want to do it, like where's the friction? Like why am I not doing it? Like how do I like simplify it to the point that like, okay, I can do that. Yeah. And really like that's what that whole like habit thing's about. It's fucking understanding that psychology. Environment
triggers.
It's triggers, environment.
Well, that's kind of
like that.
The environment. Like it talked about the guy, and so I want to see if I'm looking for the.
It was one called The Power of Habit.
Power of Habit.
I think that's probably it.
That's the one I'm thinking of.
They talk about a guy who had I remember they were talking about how
he like forgets a lot. But then he goes back to these things that he did like before, and he
knows how to walk around the block and come back, right? He knows where he's at. But if you stopped him and asked him like, "Where are you at?" He's like, he has like some sort of disease that a virus is attacking his brain, and so it's eating like the part that's responsible for short-term memory, and so he can't like short-term memory is gone, but he still has these habits. And so things that were habits before that happened, and so it's just kind of reinforcing that there's two levels that you're acting on, the short term and then that long term.
It's the power of habit.
Yep. No, that's a really good one. The Atomic Habits I think is better because it's a little more lays out a more of a plan, I guess, like a straight plan, framework for a plan. It does a really good job of putting it in context of that psychology and things like that. So, getting good habits in place is important. So, you got a lot of noisy ass fucking neighbors, man.
Well, I think it's there's this cat that lives diagonal from me bought this gigantic pickup truck. That's what we just heard go by. Man. It's like a 4-door long box. It's got like a 4-inch suspension lift, tires. It's
6-inch exhaust, probably.
Dude, it's so loud and obnoxious. And like, really, what do you got that for, man? And they don't have enough room to park it, so he just parks it out on the road.
Right.
Just annoying the shit out of me. But then I feel like the old man, like, why are you parking that thing out there?
What are you doing with that thing?
Get that thing out. Park it on your side of the cul-de-sac. Right. Like worrying about stuff I don't need to worry about.
Cranky.
Grumpy.
Grumpy. There you go.
Yeah.
No, the Power of Habit, though, or I've not read Atomic Habit.
No,
but... Dude, that's and I don't even know where we got to with this, how we got here, but in terms of the conversation, but ultimately, like the power of habit, is just one of those things where even training jiu-jitsu, all of a sudden you realize like, this is no longer like I have to tell myself you're going to the gym. And dude, let's be honest, there's moments where we are just too lazy to be like, I can't be there or whatever, or I don't want to be there or whatever. But then there's just this, like, I just came off an injury today, marked 6 weeks. And that whole 6 weeks, dude, I'm literally just jonesing, like, to get back in the gym. And, you know, it's just habit. It's like, it's no longer this, you know, I have to do, you know, it's this more ingrained, like, that's what you do every day.
It's what you do.
Yeah. It's what you do. It's who you are. And that's what's weird about jiu-jitsu is, I think for starters, dude, I mean, how difficult must it be to be a white belt? And we've all been there. But I was training white belts today, dude. And I'm just like, you know, a couple of them are doing great, and you're seeing the development, and you're like, man, you're killing it. Like, you're gonna do great in the tournament. You know, you're just, I see you advancing. But then you got new guys who are fresh, and you're just like, dude, that's got to be, you know, super discouraging at some point, dude, when you leave the gym, you know. And so, you know, I guess at this point for me at least, I guess, you know, I want to be nice a little bit and let them play and then not just come and it's like robbing kids for their lunch money.
Right.
It's like the bully just coming in and like, but you know, that's, you know, 5-6 weeks out, dude, you're just jonesing for it. So, you know, I've watched, I think, every recent video on YouTube, dude, of, you know, who knows, ADCC was just all those highlights and interviews leading into it, and I'm like, you know, can't train, you know, just twiddling my thumbs, but that habit keeps drawing you back, you know. And at this point, I was telling Rob this the other day when we were talking here at his house, came by, and I'm like, dude, at this point, it's just, I'm going to train until my body tells me you can't train anymore. Like, that's just part of life now.
That's why you better start doing those fucking frog stretches, because your body's trying to tell you something, brother.
And that's exactly what it was, because you know, I've had a couple injuries this year, and it was the groin, it was this knee, you know, and then tendonitis on this left side and the shoulder. It's all this stuff that you repetitively use. And now it's like, okay, I need to start like taking better care of my body, man. Yep. In terms of either supplementation of some kind, which I've not always been a big fan of, like supplementation, but I'm like, you know, if it's not hurting me, maybe it can help on a macro or a micro level rather. But yeah, you're getting back to like, you know, getting some good stretches in, taking care of your
mobility,
body.
some isometrics, you gotta get you hooked up with you can just do that shit at home. You just need your jiu-jitsu belt.
Yeah.
And like fucking 20 minutes 2 times a week. The isometrics help a ton with the injury prevention and the mobility stuff. I mean, it's again, people on this podcast are tired of hearing me fucking talk about isometrics.
I try, dude, but no, I you know, and I haven't done it.
Yeah.
But I've realized that is the missing element, especially as you start to age.
Yeah.
And dude, let's, you know, right now I hit 40 this month, and I think you guys are there.
I hit 40 this year. Back in May.
44 next month.
Yeah.
Next month, man.
Yeah.
Do squats.
Yeah.
Something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When's your birthday?
December 27th.
Dude, you're like just mine's November 27th.
Okay, yeah.
So you're just right at 4 years, and
yeah.
But dude, you feel it on your body.
Oh yeah, it's not just a number.
No, you got to take care of it, man. Dude, that mobility is concentrating on that, and then we've talked about this a million times. Like, jiu-jitsu's rough; it's a tough activity, and so you don't need to be going out there trying to do a bunch of CrossFit workouts to thinking you're going to help yourself.
No.
You know what I mean? Like, you're taking more away from the system. Like, you got to replenish that system, you know, with your mobility. If you want to you need to do strength training to armor yourself. That isometric's perfect for it, because you're not killing yourself.
You're not taxing your joints even more so.
Then you don't need that, man.
Yeah.
At our age, dude, you don't need that. You got to really listen to your body. You got to come do Grumpy Guy class on Saturday. That'd be a really good intro to it.
Yeah.
It'll give you a taste. Like,
I'm putting a program together, so like I actually have like videos and some preliminary workout stuff, so I can send it your way. Because one, it'd be good to get your feedback just as like an end user. Like, this makes sense. Yeah, I feel like I could do it. And then, you know, you'd have the tools to do it.
Dude, totally would be into it.
As well. But, yeah, we'll get you hooked up, man. This stuff will armor-proof you, because that's what led me down this journey. Like, literally, I had a fucking groin injury. I was doing all the right things, but it was not getting better. And that Steve Maxwell seminar, the thing that sold me was the mobility thing. Like, that's what I was going to check out. I had no idea the fucking isometric thing. Like, neither one of us, man. I remember we were both like, what the fuck are we getting into here right now? And then we did the glute bridge and we were sold. But yeah, that's what got me down. Was same thing, man. My body was telling me something, or in my early 40s, and it's like, man, I got to make some sort of changes, and those two things have completely changed. Like, I feel better than I did when I was in my 30s. Like,
dude, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, part of the journey was like going back to that last tournament, right? I definitely trained well. I'd been a blue belt for a couple years, several years by that point, and I'm kind of coming out of it, and I'm telling myself, don't be that guy, go finish your tournament, and then you kind of drop off. And truth is, dude, I really took a lot of time away. I never really stopped. I've never stopped doing jiu-jitsu, but as far as the intensity and regularity, like, I've definitely had these moments where I've just stepped away for a while, and then I'll come back and really focus. Well, in this last stretch, leading into getting my purple belt, and then through that season, I definitely was in like anywhere from 5 days a week sometimes, and at noon we tend to train when there's not coaches there to kind of walk us through, like, hey, work on these techniques, then roll. Yeah. It's like, all right, let's just do a lot of rolling. And so, man, I just felt like I was just rolling a lot, and dude, my body was trying to tell me something, and I don't think I was listening because I was just training so hard in that season.
So much fun.
Yeah, and finally, you just get into a situation where my body just said, that's enough.
Yeah.
And I, stupid thing, I injured myself though. This is a Friday. And I was like, dude, I'll take the weekend off. I'll be back on Tuesday. I'll even give myself Monday. I'll be back on Tuesday. And I came back, dude, and yeah, I was not near ready.
Yeah.
And so but even then, I was like, I'll rest it, Wednesday, Thursday, and come back Friday. And that was a week later after the initial injury. And that Friday, it was like plain as day, dude. Like, you're gonna be out for an extended period of time. And so then it was about 5 weeks after that. I was just couldn't train.
It's a hard pill to swallow.
It is, dude. And you don't want, especially when you're in a group, because I really was feeling like I was just in a rhythm. My timing was good. My, dealing with the problems of like white belts that are progressing and blue belts that are progressing. And now it's not just, let me throw you into these simple things. Now it's like, okay, I've done that to you too many times. You're gun shy. So I've got to work around this puzzle now. And you guys probably have talked about this, but the progression of growth between, especially at a white belt, but I would even say at a blue belt, is extremely high. And then you get into, at least where I'm at, which has just been a purple belt for a little while now, and you just feel like you're not growing as fast. Everything's just slowing down, and your problems are different. You got to solve them in a different way.
Yeah, it really becomes apparent that shit that works on lower belts doesn't always necessarily work on higher belts, and then it's like trying to figure out, like, why is that? Is this a shit technique that I've been using and getting away with on people that don't know what's going on? Or is there something legitimately there that I just need to figure out, like, what details am I missing that's not letting me perform it on a higher level? But yeah, man, at least I felt like that at purple belt. Like, you really question a lot of things in your game, because that position, you're right there in the middle between the lowest and the highest, and so it's very apparent, like, what is working and what's not,
yeah,
and where it's working. And then you got to figure out, like, fuck, man, have I just wasted the last 6 years?
Dude, that's exactly how I'm like,
I thought I was good at this move, man.
Yeah, dude, I did a lot of reading coming into, because I was like, okay, I just trying to read, like, what are other people's thoughts, because I started feeling like at right before I got my purple belt, I was just like, like, I'm feeling solid about it. And then I get it, my purple belt, and I'm like, okay, where do I go now? And so I'm doing a lot of reading and just trying to find out, like, what's the strategy now, and just at least from a philosophy point of view, like, what should I try to be doing? Trying to work on certain points in my game, and in doing that reading, I feel like there's this double standard in that, where now purple belts, at the end of the day, dude, when they're right in the middle, and so they know enough to be pretty dangerous.
Oh yeah.
but yet they're not as developed and refined as obviously a brown or a black belt. And so it still feels like you just said, dude, I just spent the last 6 years of my life doing what?
Yeah. What do I do with this?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Rob's heard me. I've had some crises of faith.
Yeah.
With a few things with my jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like purple belt's that point where you start transitioning from like move based to like principle based jiu-jitsu a little bit more, I guess, is like, because that's where, you know, really a lot of that stuff where you're like, man, I don't know where that's jiu-jitsu, right? Like when you ask Pimenta, like, man, what is that? And he's like, oh, jiu-jitsu. It's like, okay.
Yeah.
Like that's what, you know, I refer to it like as your jiu-jitsu glasses, right? Like every time, you know, Denelson will come or we get some, you know, Jamie or one of these high-level black belts come and they drop some little bit of like knowledge and all of a sudden you're like, oh, and it's like they take your jiu-jitsu glasses off and they kind of like clean them off for you a little bit and put them back on. You're like, oh, things look a little clearer now.
Yeah.
And, you know, a lot of that clutter, man, that makes the jiu-jitsu hard to see is not really understanding like the fights and the principles behind. You know, you got some moves that you're good at and you got some answers to specific questions, but it's like, you know, expanding beyond. It's not collecting more. You know, at a certain point, like you want to gain knowledge, but to really understand stuff, you start to like kind of hack shit away.
Yeah.
Right. And things simplify.
Less is more.
Less is more. Right. Yeah.
Refine.
Yeah. The black belt doesn't think more; he's thinking less. Yeah. Right. And so it's like at white belt thinking more, at blue belt thinking more. Like those things help. Right. It helps progress. And then you get to like that purple belt level, and like thinking more doesn't always keep going this way. Sometimes thinking less may be the right, and so that's where just in my mind, I'm kind of looking back on like my journey through purple belt, and I kind of feel like that's been like the biggest thing for me is not necessarily any specific aspect of I've gotten really good at this or done this, as much as just tried to, you know, understand those things
bigger picture. So yeah, like, you know, we talked about this before, we had a whole private with Pimenta. We went in and we're like, he answered our question, fucking base, posture, and angle. Yeah.
And we spent the entire hour just like, what about this problem? Base, posture, angle. Okay. You like literally those three things answer.
Fundamental, really.
Yeah.
Every question we had, it was really just taking his answer and plugging it into each question we had. Like
I
asked him how to answer it. It's like here's the tools you need to figure out your own solution.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so now here's the problem. Now apply that to figuring this out.
Yeah.
And like that's where like I kind of like jiu-jitsu for me, especially like over the last like 6 months or so, that's what I feel like. I feel like I understand like that problem solving. It's like you're just solving problems. It's just, and you know, Rob talks about it all the time. You're just fucking problem solving. You don't like this problem, solve the fucking, change the problem, change the fight or whatever, right? And it's like, you know, you hear that and it's like, you know, it's like, you know, okay, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it makes more sense. But
well, dude, we're all looking for the silver bullet. Mm-hmm. It's just life, dude. You just can't help it. You want to give me the one thing. You know, it's like I don't know if you guys have ever followed John Maxwell, leadership guy.
Yeah.
And John Maxwell, he's teaching. I'm hearing him in Phoenix at one point, and you know, he's talking about lots of great principles. But you know, there's this eager beaver, you know, that comes up and says, you know, John, what's the one thing that I need to know about leadership? And, you know, John says to him, well, the one thing you need to know is that there's more than one thing about leadership, you know, and that's the truth of it, is that it really is, you know, it's not just one thing, it's a lot of things. But with Pimenta, you're always looking for the one thing. You're looking for when I've asked him several times and I've seen him, I'm like, after I've rolled with him a little bit, because he's so calm when you roll with him, and he's
expressionless,
and just smashing you, dude, just like, and so I always ask him, like, kind of, what can I work on? And of course, his English is not the greatest. So he goes back to this, like, and you guys have probably heard it. You could probably say it better than I am because I'm losing it a little bit. But it's what? Defend.
Base posture, defense, base posture.
And attack. He says, defend. He says, defend, position, attack, or in that rotation, somewhere in there like that. And I've heard him say it before. See him a year later, and I'm trying to get this nugget again. like I just rolled with him. He just smashed me, 3 or 4 times in a noon class. And dude, give me a nugget, and he's like, defend.
It's the same answer.
Offense, defend, or attack.
Yeah. Yep.
And so
he has the same answer for every question.
Yeah.
You just got to understand what he's saying or how.
That's why, when you ask him stuff, he's like, "Show me,"
Yeah.
because like once he sees it, then he can apply his problem solving skills to it. But that's it, man. It's like a lot with life too. You're looking for that one,
dude. That's
that
life.
one thing, but
we're all looking for that, man.
just continue to be a good problem solver.
It's life and jiu-jitsu and faith and anything else you do, any other kind of athletic activity, biking, all of it, it's a long game, and we're all looking for short answers, though. We're looking for quick fixes. It's just it's in us, man. How can we take the shortcut? And the reality is that really there is no shortcut. And you can go further faster with the proper coach. You can go further faster with the right program, isometrics, or anything else. You can do all that. You can go further faster, but at the end of the day, it's a long game. Mm-hmm. And as long as you kind of learn that patience of it, you'll be all right.
Yeah.
Recently, I've kind of taken. I always get into all these hobbies and things I enjoy doing, from dogs to hunting to obviously jiu-jitsu. One of the most recent ones has been bonsai, and really like taking a dive into that world.
You mean the little
like
trees?
Trees, yeah. Like,
I had one at one time.
and,
I got into that, and I
dude,
killed it.
Yeah. So,
one snip too
yeah,
many.
I had one. I had it shaped up and doing well, dude. And I think my wife and I tag teamed to kill that one recently because we just watered it too much. And then it was like, but I'm still on it. I still am intrigued by it, and the art form of it. But I was watching this video of a 3rd or 4th generation bonsai lady out of Japan, and she's talking about, and really the whole premise is that what you need is patience. And she's talking about these trees that she planted 5 and 6 years ago, and then 15 and 20 years ago. Dude, she's an older lady. She's been doing it for like 80 years or whatever. You know what I'm saying? She's, 70 years. I don't know the time frame. But either way, she's talking about how it's a patience game, and then ultimately knowing that it's something you pass on to the next generation that will actually see the fruit of that. It's a beautiful concept, man. I mean, it's a great thing for us to think about, as fathers, to think that one day our children will carry on kind of our lineage, heritage, whatever. But it's a patience game. It's a long game, man.
Yeah, perspective. It's there's no substitute for it because it gives everything context, and it's really tough to know what the fuck you're talking about if you don't have context.
Yeah.
That's what's wrong with kids,
dude.
Man. They have no fucking context.
Yeah, but they know it all, though.
They're full of hope, man.
They know it all, too.
They're full of hope.
Perspective, dude, so kind of going back in my story a little bit, there was the season where 12, get the IRS call, feeling just down and discouraged, and really I knew that it was time for me to find a coach, somebody that could help me, counseling, something. I needed somebody to give me perspective. And dude, I'm sitting with this guy, and kind of I'm like, dude, this guy ain't telling me nothing that I don't already know. It's that kind of an attitude a little bit, But in that time frame, which led to my, kind of breakthrough and jiu-jitsu and all of that, was this concept or this idea of a mind shift, which is just being able to shift just enough to get perspective, And Rob, we've talked, I think, a little bit about this, maybe in a different concept, but I remember being a blue belt and thinking am I ever going to advance, to whether that's a stripe or whether that's the next belt. And Rob's like, dude, jiu-jitsu's your own journey, man. Who cares what's on your belt? Who cares? And at that moment, it was like a perspective. It was a mind shift. It was just perspective. It was seeing things from a different lens. And then honestly, I got blind to what was on my belt anyway. I literally, for the next probably 2 years, was just blind to it, and I didn't care. And so when Coach promoted me, it was total surprise. I mean, I felt like it was possible and probable, but at the end of the day, there was a big part of me that was like, I not that I don't care, I don't want to minimize it.
Yeah.
Because it's certainly, it is.
It means something.
It does mean something. But at the end of the day, that perspective shift helps you keep going, you know?
Yeah, that's not why.
Yeah.
It's
not the why.
By the time you get to purple belt, if you're still doing it for the belts, like you've missed something along the journey.
Yeah, totally.
So but it does mean something. I mean, somebody thinking enough of your jiu-jitsu to, put another belt around your waist. So no, man, I'd say it was well deserved. You've always been one of my toughest training partners, so I've definitely enjoyed having you around. Glad you've stuck with it through the thick and thin of it. So hopefully we can get you back on the mats stronger and moving better.
Dude, I need to. That is the evolution of my game right now, is like taking better care of my body. Because 3 weeks from now, I'll be 40 years old. And I ain't getting any younger.
Not getting any younger.
And
those fucking white belts, man, they're 20-something years old forever.
Oh gosh, dude, right? 20 years.
I keep getting older, and they stay the same age.
Yeah. Yep. And dude, that's the truth, man. You're like, you see a 18-year-old kid, 21-year-old kid, shoot, 25, even 27. Yeah. You see them coming in, and dude, you just know that they're athletic, they're fit, they're coming from a background of being somehow active in their lives. And when I came to jiu-jitsu, man, I was a couch potato, man. I was like, I was what I would call fat in my books. I'm still chubby. That little boy still lives inside of me. That chubby little boy, he's always there. He's like, get seconds, man. Like, what are you like?
Get some cookies.
Yeah,
where's dessert?
Yeah. You forgot dessert, man. And so, they just keep coming, man.
Yeah.
And so perspective is a good thing. And that moment of shift was a major breakthrough. And, let me bring it back to a spiritual thing. And it's this. When I was going through that, I really felt like the Lord, I don't have a lot of like, thus saith the Lord moments in my life, to be real honest. I'd have some strong feelings. I'm very cautious to say, the Lord told me or the Lord said, because I just think that's overused, and at least when I did come to church and in that church upbringing, I felt like it was just overused. And I'm like, man, did the Lord really say that? And
how do you argue with that?
And can you back that up in the Bible?
Someone says that, what do you say?
My thing's like, you better back that up in the Bible, because if he said it to you here, he's already said it in his book. And so if it doesn't match, you're off, And so I'm kind of a skeptic in that.
Right.
But I really felt like what the Lord told me in that moment. And I was frustrated with life. I was unhealthy emotionally, spiritually, physically, all of it. And I was whining, almost like I was frustrated. I was shaking my fist at God, like, you left me, you deserted me, you took everything from me, you called me to this, and then you left me alone. I was just mad, And trust me, it wasn't as polished as I'm saying it right now. There was a few F-bombs in there, quite a few, and I'm talking to God that way, you know what I'm saying? And I'm a preacher. And I'm having to go up on Sundays and still like be that, And in that moment, I felt like the Lord clearly told me, and again, this is what I feel he said to me was, Paul, I'm not trying to fix your situation. I'm trying to fix your heart. And when I realized, and it was like, I get it. So it doesn't matter my situation. It doesn't matter the belt around my waist. It doesn't matter whatever the problem I'm facing. Lord, you're trying to work on my heart. And that's a game changer, because then you realize I'm trying to fix my life, my relationships, my spirituality, my physical body, my jiu-jitsu game, and it's bigger than just what's going on around me. It's about what's going on inside of me. Yeah. And that was the pivot point. And from then on, it was like, all right, let's go. I'm ready to climb the mountain, whatever that looks like. And so here we are. And that's already been almost 7 years now.
Oh, yeah.
Nice.
So that might be a good place to end it right there. You gotta go pick up your kid, right?
Time to get the kiddos.
Cool, man. Thank you for doing the podcast.
Dude, man, this was awesome. Great, man. And thank you guys for the invitation. And it's always good to catch up.
Yeah. That's what this is. We just bought a microphone. so we can stick it in front of us and give us a reason to talk.
Yeah, right.
That's really what it boils down to, man. Because how many times in life do you get to sit down and talk to your friends like that?
Yeah.
You don't.
You know,
You really don't.
especially not in today's world.
No.
We do the one-liners, the text messages, the tweets, and the posts.
Fucking thumbs up, baby.
Yeah. not even a tweet, but just a thumbs up.
Just
Yeah.
thumbs up.
Or a middle finger, depending on what you're like.
Yeah. Cool.
So,
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, man. Appreciate
Call
it.
it a
And call it a wrap.
Talk to everybody later.
Yeah.
See you.
Cool. Peace.
Thank you for listening to the Grumpy Guy BJJ Podcast.
Thank you all for listening. You can find us on Podbean, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and wherever else you listen to podcasts. Please make sure to subscribe and leave us a review. It really does help and will allow us to keep putting out episodes. If you have any questions, comments, or ideas, hit us up at grumpyguybjj@gmail.com. Also, go to our website, grumpyguybjj.com, and get signed up for podcast updates and get our free BJJ Improvement Starter Kit. That's it for now. So get on the mat, train hard, and talk to you all next week.
Down clown with a permanent rep, a hermit now, boom. Doggy stool, foggy, cool, got a froggy, outside Molly dude. Melancholy Daisy Duke, hanging by the lace of their shoes. No trace of the tools, shaped in your face, fuck the rules. Snooze, you lose, one eye always open, at times two. No clue, but soon a brief monsoon might give you a view to choose. Stay tuned, include, won't conclude. To the end is near, beware there's consequences, but what you do